what we're going to be using are the foam dice from Dollar Tree and some chalk paint for our base. So what I'm going to do is just pour some paint into my lid here. And I'm just going to use a sponge brush, and we're going to get a thin coat on here. And I did need to do 2 coats just to make sure that I got a nice clear, a solid base. So this first one is just going to be, I don't have to do 2 sides, so I guess I don't have to worry about that one. Just got to do up and in, because the tops will be covered with the graham cracker. And this will dry really fast. The styrofoam just sucks it up. We'll just wait a minute. So apparently I painted the second coat with it not being in camera frame. So I just want to go over it again. I did do a second coat on all the sides. I also seem to do one on the top coat, which is irrelevant. But I did put it in a popsicle stick just to make it easy for me to turn. And what I did is I just used my scissors to pop a hole in the back, and then I just put the popsicle stick in there. It will be covered with the graham cracker that we're going to make out of styrofoam, so I'm not so worried about that hole being there. But I think I have it pretty much under good coverage right now. I'm just going to look for any patchy spots. Oh, I think we got it all. Just trying to make sure it's nice and smooth looking. I don't want no little flaws in it. Okay, we'll put that to the side. Let it dry. For the next step, we're going to be making the brown paint that I'm going to use on his hair. If you notice on this one, it is shiny and it has a little bit of dimension to it. And how I was able to achieve that is I mixed apple barrel burnt umber matte paint with Mod Podge gloss, and I just eyeballed it, and that's what we're going to do here. I didn't have any exact measurements. I just poured, and then, oh, let me get my stick. I'm trying to clean that up a little bit to have it not be so funky in the lid afterwards. And then some of the apple barrel. And I'm just going to mix it. The Mod Podge will dry clear, but I'm looking for it to give it that shiny look like chocolate. And that's all I did. So now, using a paintbrush or whatever, whatever you have, we're going to just I'm going to use my popsicle stick here to try and create some drips. Because I want to make it look like chocolate coming off of the graham cracker. And if it goes too much, I'm just going to hold it backwards or upside down. And just keep going back and forth. On the top, it don't matter because it's going to be covered with the graham cracker. See how we're getting those drip marks? I'm going to do it all the way around. And I find I like it to go longer on the corners. And you can make your drip marks as long or as... I do make sure you keep them short on the side if you're going to do a face. But you could do them as thick drips or thin drips. That's all up to you. I seem to like a variety of them. And having it on the popsicle stick, it just gives me better cover or leverage with holding it. I see that there's a boo-boo in the white paint there, so I'm just going to cover it up with some chocolate. We will make it work. And I think we got it covered all the way around. Alright, let's go ahead and just make sure we have it all on the edges now. Alright, smearing it with the popsicle stick doesn't work, but patting it seems to be working. And you don't, let's say we don't want to do a graham cracker, just go all the way across. Matter of fact, I think I will just do this one all the way across. But I'll still make a topper to show you. See, I smeared it. I didn't need to. Alright, I'm going to let this, I'm going to make sure I don't have no really big drips going to come down. And just wait for it to dry. We'll be back. While we're waiting for the paint to dry, we can go ahead and work on the face because the paint that we painted the face with is already dry. So what we need to do is figure out which side we want our face to go on, and that's just going to be a matter of your personal preference. I think I like this side the best as far as if that were to be his hairline. And I'm just going to take a Sharpie marker, and I'm just going to draw where I think his eyes should be. And feel free to just mark it out with a pencil first. I'm feeling confident, so I'm just going for it. And if you notice, I'm starting at one side and then I come back and forth, and that's to help me try to keep it uniform. Then we're going to go ahead and do a little mouth. And I think, actually, it looked like the paint is still a little wet there, so I don't want to go down too low. And I'm going back and forth the same way I did before. And you can use a paint marker for this. If your hand is straight enough, feel free to do it with a paint. For his cheeks, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take, this is Pink Parfait Apple Barrel. I'm taking my paintbrush, but I'm using the back end of it. I'm going to dip it in the lid here because I just want to get a little bit of pink. And I'm going to do the same. Oh, I'm sorry, I did that out of camera frame. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And it gives him the pink cheeks. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do a, I can't, oh, no, I was going to say I didn't find it, but I did. For his tongue, I'm going to use a highlighter. And I'm just going to draw a little tongue coming out. However, my paint is still a little wet here. But you definitely can see where we're going with that. Now you can absolutely leave this as is and don't have to do another thing. If you wanted to just have a marshmallow, if you just wanted to have a chocolate covered marshmallow, you don't have to do a face at all. We are going to go on and make s'mores out of this by adding a cracker. So hold on. for the graham cracker crust, I did use a piece of styrofoam that I found in the trash. What I did is I cut off a piece and then I cut it in half, and that's what I used for my top and my bottom. So, even though if you don't have access to styrofoam trash, you could pick up any kind of styrofoam and the same principle will still apply. And how you do it is I use a serrated knife that I got from Dollar Tree, and I just literally, I'll mark it. Let me see, I'll try and do one thin enough for here. I try to mark how thin I want it, and I'll just push in. Oh, this one will go all the way through. And then I would cut it to the size that I need for the project. For this one, I already have this piece that's cut in half. I couldn't use this one. I was using this as a stand because it made the holes all the way through. I don't know if you could see it or not. So I already have this one that's done. But same theory. I just went ahead and I cut it in half with this. And I just went back and forth all the way down. But again, this one's done. So only thing I have to do is split this one in half so I have a top and a bottom. And I'm just going to eyeball it. And I got a top and a bottom piece. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our spackle and we're going to do a thin coat of it on there. I'm using patch and paint. I had gotten this from Home Depot, and I'm just going to take some out with my popsicle stick and smear it on there. I want to make sure I take enough for top and bottom. It's kind of going to be like a frosting. The caulking from Dollar Tree also works. Dollar Tree also does sell this stuff in a smaller container. I just happen to have the big one because I use it. And what I'm going to do is just smear it for coverage. I want it to look like frosting. Not frosting. I want it to look cakey. Right, this is going on better with my finger. I just don't want it to look like styrofoam. And this gives it a little bit of texture and body because we're just going to paint it to look like the cracker. I'm pulling it up more than I'm getting it on there now. I'm going to make sure to get the sides because again, we don't want it to look like the styrofoam. I think the caulking in the tube from Dollar Tree might be a better bet for this part of it. I think that's what I used on that one, to be honest. That was purely experimental. I do like how you kind of want to keep it on the rough side where it looks like you broke the graham cracker off. Patting it down. You can get as detailed as you want with it then if you want to make the little holes and to make it look like the crackers, even more detailed, but I'm okay with the kind of bland one. Oh, I don't like that piece of it. A little too thick there. There we go. Much better. See if I can get on this side. I just don't want you to see the holes from the styrofoam. Or this. I don't want you to see that. And we're just going to have to wait for this to dry, and once it's dried, we'll go ahead and paint it. Once it's painted, we can go ahead and glue it onto the top of our marshmallow. I'm just going to put it upside down here to try and flatten it a little. And there we go. I'm going to put it to the side so it'll dry. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. now that our pieces have dried, we need to make the paint in order to make it match a graham cracker. And this probably isn't actually a graham cracker color, but it was close enough to me. And the only thing I did to make it is I took some my good old chalk paint. I'm running low on chalk paint. And we don't need a whole lot. And I took some apple barrel nutmeg. Probably didn't even need that much. A good old popsicle stick. And I'm just going to mix it. And I said I mixed it until it looked like a foundation color. Well, I guess I could use a little bit more nutmeg in there because it's still really creamy. Might even, like, if you want to play with the colors a little more, maybe a dash of orange in it. But I'm okay with this because I will use these as a flesh color in other projects. I still think I could use more. Let's see if that helps. You see I'm just mixing it around. You could do this in any type of a container. I do like having containers that I could put lids on. This way I have that color more. I could save if it's extra. Making sure to scrape the sides and the bottom. And I'm okay with that. So now I'm just going to smear it on to the part that we spackled. Now we spackled that part. We did not spackle that part. I hope you can see the difference there. And I'm not even going to be neat or anything about this. I'm going to just use my finger. If I can't get it anywhere, we'll just get it back in there with a paintbrush. I want to get a little underneath in case it shows anywhere. See if we can flip it. Obviously, I can't get where my fingers are. Oops! Haha! I can't get where my fingers are at. So let me just get my hot glue. Wipe my hand on my hand. I don't want to get the this glue onto our little s'more guy we already made. And for this, I'm going to just put hot glue right on his head. Look and see which side I think will look best for the front. I think it'll be where my thumb is at. And we're just going to put the two together. They have little leprechaun hairs on them. I'm just going to smush it down. Oh, he's a little wet. I see where I got some on the chocolate, but we could fix that. And now he has his little graham cracker top. And we're going to do the same thing for the bottom. But on here, we only need to paint right around the edges, because the top, you're not even going to see any of this part. Again, I'm just smearing on. We call it finger painting. And by all means, you don't want to get messy with it, I understand. Use a paintbrush. And I'm going to just put hot glue right onto the top. And put them right on. Okay. Now we just got to wait for this all to harden up a little bit. I also am not happy with my face because we painted it, the paint was still wet. Now that the paint's dry, I'm just going to go back in with my Sharpie, and I just want to darken up his mouth a little bit. Let's get the eyes too, give it a cleaner look. And we have ourselves a s'more.